Hello, and thank you for attending this presentation for the CSO 119 South Barrel Conversion and Sewer Separation Project. This video is being recorded in November 2024, and it consists of information through the 30% design phase of the project. I'm Brian Kaminsky, the Public Outreach Facilitator for this project. Today, you will hear from Tom Heineman and Adam Wilmus, who are working on the project. Our contact information is listed here, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have or talk with you about this project. Today, we're going to talk about the CSO program overview, including the CSO program goals. We're going to talk about what combined sewer overflow is and the opportunities and benefits of this project. Then, we're going to talk a little bit about the project overview, including the exact location, the objectives of the project, and what to expect, along with the complete schedule that we have at this time.
All right. Thank you, Brian. I'm Tom Heineman, the project manager for the South Barrel project. The South Barrel project is really a part of the Omaha Combined Sewer Overflow program. So I'm going to talk for just a few minutes about that program before we get into the details of the project. As it says here, the Omaha CSO program is responsible for improving water quality in area rivers and streams by reducing combined sewage overflows. The CSO program has three primary goals: regulatory compliance, economic affordability, and community acceptance. So I'm just going to touch on each one of those briefly. Regulatory compliance. There are actually 55 what we call long-term control plan projects that need to be implemented to achieve the overall goals of the Combined Sewer Overflow program. One of these projects, of course, is the South Barrel project that we're talking about today. These projects, the city is obligated to complete all of those projects by 2037. We must meet those projects are intended to meet the goals for regulatory compliance listed here. First of all, to implement the projects in accordance with state and federal regulations, and to reduce pollutant impacts from the CSOs on the Missouri River and Papillion Creek. The main pollutants of concern under the CSO program are bacteria, mainly E. coli. And we actually estimate that when all of the projects are completed on the CSO program, that the Missouri River will actually be back within compliance with water quality standards for bacteria. The next goal is economic affordability. That is to minimize the financial burden to ratepayers and customers. Since the program started in 2006, the program management team in the city have consistently implemented efforts to control and reduce costs. Third goal is community acceptance. This includes facilitating open dialogue with the public and providing timely program and project information, such as this presentation that we're making today, and also the project information, project update sheet that is located on the Keep It Current website that the city has. So what is a combined sewer overflow? The older parts of Omaha have combined sewers, and the newer parts have separate sewers. What's shown here is an area being served by a combined sewer. What this means is that it's getting both sanitary sewage and stormwater. So here's a combined sewer serving an area of the city. We show sanitary sewage coming into that sewer and then having it flow down through an interceptor sewer to the wastewater treatment facility. With a combined sewer, however, it also receives stormwater runoff from over the ground and roof leaders from houses and other facilities. So under dry weather conditions, that sanitary sewage flows down the combined sewer. It gets diverted to the wastewater treatment facility for treatment prior to release from to the river. During wet weather, however, the amount of stormwater coming in quickly overwhelms the conveyance capacity of the sewage system. And what happens is that you get a mixture of stormwater and sanitary sewage that goes out to the river and causes pollution. The goal of the CSO program is to control approximately 85% of the total wet weather volume that is produced in any given year, so as to minimize the amount of pollution that occurs in the river. So as part of this, a lot of construction takes place. Construction can be disruptive in the short term, but in the long term, CSO projects can bring opportunities and benefits such as those listed here. First of all, the projects will reduce overflows of raw sewage to our streams, as we've said, and improve water quality. This is not only water quality in the river by the city of Omaha, but also for downstream people. Those projects can also continue to eliminate sewer backups into basements that have tended to occur over time. It allows us to replace aging sewer, gas, water, and street infrastructure as well, and can make improvements to drainage and flooding. It can also create community amenities while implementing sound infrastructure solutions, such as the one shown here at the right, where while managing stormwater, one of the projects was also to create a nice park amenity in the north part of town. The basic South Barrel project purpose is to convert the South Barrel to stormwater only, so that it does not have any sewage in it. This conversion means that the water that flows down the South Barrel in the future will no longer count as combined sewage or as a combined sewer overflow. We'll talk more about this later, but that's the basic purpose, is to eliminate the sanitary sewage that goes down the South Barrel. The project boundaries are listed here. The project is located east of Railroad Avenue, south of Washington Street, west of 13th Street, and north of Harrison Street. There's also a little bit of construction with that little box that you can see up along Railroad Avenue near Y Street. So what is a barrel? We're talking about the north and south barrels. What is a barrel? A barrel is basically a very large sewer. In the case of the sewers we're talking about on this project, they actually measure 11 feet by 11 feet in size. Now, you don't normally see people walking around in these barrels, but this was actually a photograph that was taken back in 2017 when some folks were doing an inspection of one of the barrels. The project, as we've said, involves two existing barrels. The north barrel, which conveys both sanitary sewage and wastewater, and the south barrel, which at this time conveys mostly stormwater, but still a little bit of sanitary sewage. Again, the purpose of this project, the basic purpose, is to get rid of that sanitary sewage, so it is only stormwater that flows down the south barrel in the future. We talk about windows. What are windows? For the north and south barrels, there are two sets of windows where flow can actually go back and forth between the two barrels to relieve pressure under high flow conditions. So to convert the south barrel to stormwater only, it will be necessary as part of this project to close the windows, both upstream and downstream, that are there now between the two barrels. This is an illustration, kind of in a perspective view of the north and south barrels running along Railroad Avenue. You can see that they run basically side by side, and the south barrel is shown in a bluish color. The upstream windows are shown up around Y Street, and the downstream windows are located closer to Washington Street. Again, these will need to be closed as part of this project so that the south barrel can be only stormwater, but there's much more to this project. And in order to talk about those additional details, I'll turn the presentation over to our design manager, Adam Wilmes.
All right, thank you, Tom. This is another look at the north and south barrels, similar to what Tom just showed, but it kind of gives you a sense for where those windows are located in the real world and where diversions are located in the real world. And so Tom explained what the windows were. Their locations, their openings between the two barrels, the north barrel and south barrel, where flow can go back and forth. So those need to be closed. But we've also got to address some diversions. And diversions are just where a sewer that is combined, that has flow from stormwater and sanitary sources, would enter the south barrel. And so if we want the south barrel to be only stormwater, we've got to also address those locations where combined sewer can enter the south barrel, and those are the diversions. So in order to do that, this image that we're looking at here gives you an idea of where the project work will be located. And so this is kind of just high level. You can see those boxes. This is a page from our preliminary plan set. But those sheets give you an idea of where the construction is going to be taking place in order to close those diversions, do the sewer separation that will achieve the desired outcomes of the project. So as Tom pointed out, the main objectives for the project are to separate the south barrel from the north barrel. As Tom noted, the south barrel is going to become a dedicated storm sewer. The north barrel will continue to carry combined sewer that is directed as you get kind of to the far right side of this photo down the hill towards the Missouri River. That's where flow from the north barrel is directed to the treatment plant for treatment. And so when the south barrel becomes stormwater only, it will no longer be contributing combined sewer overflows to the Missouri River. And so therefore, by completing this project, we'll reduce combined sewer overflows to the Missouri River. So how are we going to get this done? There are several elements here that need to be addressed. The first click would be to close the diversions. Those are located, there are groups of diversions, 17th and Madison, 17th and Monroe, and also 15th and Monroe. Those are illustrated here with the green circles on the map. Next would be to close the windows. These are illustrated with the green rectangles. Along Highway 75, the northern one just west of Highway 75 and the southern one just east of Highway 75. Those are the windows that Tom showed you a picture of earlier. And finally, there's one more structure that we haven't talked about yet. And this is what we're calling a balancing structure for larger storms. So today, the north and south barrel, by virtue of these windows that exist between them, can hydraulically balance. And so these barrels serve stormwater from different areas. And so if it's raining harder in one area than another, the barrels can balance between them so that the full capacity of those barrels can be used to get rainwater out of the system in these really heavy rain events. So we want to make sure that no combined sewer is entering the south barrel in a typical year. And that's going to be achieved through the project. But we also have to think about less common events when it rains very hard. In those events, it's really important that the full capacity of both the north barrel and the south barrel are utilized to minimize flooding and make sure all that rainwater makes it to the Missouri River. And so that's the purpose where you see the triangle of building a structure that's capable of balancing those flows. And I want to stress, this is only for really large rain events that the structure would be used. So we talk a lot about sewer separation, and I just want to kind of explain different ways that that can be achieved, how it might be achieved. The image that we're looking at here is kind of a typical combined sewer. And so you got one sewer that runs down the street. It has connections from both residential services, as is noted there in the gray, and also stormwater catch basins, which is shown there with the blue pipe. And so that's the nature of a combined sewer, just meaning that it's serving sanitary sewer and stormwater. But if we want to separate these, another sewer needs to be added. And so this is one way to do it. If you build a new storm sewer and you disconnect the storm sewer from the combined sewer pipe and you connect it to your new storm sewer, now you have a dedicated storm sewer and you've got a dedicated sanitary sewer, which is common practice for sewer construction in non-combined areas. So this would be a one way to do it. Another way would be to, it's not illustrated here, but to build a new sanitary sewer, connect that, convert the existing to a storm sewer. So we are actually doing a little bit of both on this project. But the point is, we're going from a one sewer system in these streets to a two sewer system, and that's going to require the construction of new sewers. What can you expect during this project? Well, there are a number of things that go into sewer construction, especially in areas of town that are long established and well developed. Those streets have a lot of things underneath them, whether it be water, gas, fiber, electric, lots of utilities. And so those things are going to be encountered when new sewers are built. So the streets in areas of construction will be removed and replaced, and that's really necessary so that the sewers can be built. New storm sewer and storm sewer inlets in areas where storm sewer is being constructed. New sanitary sewers. There are some areas, as mentioned, that new sanitary sewers will be constructed. Along with the street removal, driveway approaches are also typically removed and replaced, and the approaches really are just that area of the driveway closest to the street, kind of the flared section at the end where essentially from the sidewalk to the street. Sidewalks are also going to be replaced. Many older areas of town have sidewalks that are 4 feet wide. Current standard is to do 5 feet wide. Also, there are older curb ramps in town that don't meet ADA standards. And so with this project, anything that's removed would be built back to current ADA standards, and that includes the curb ramps. Trees will be removed as part of this project. We're not intending to take out trees, but a lot of times they're either directly in conflict with a sewer construction, or sometimes enough of that root structure may be compromised through sewer construction that tree is deemed that it won't survive or that it becomes unsafe. And in those situations, those trees will be removed. Most of the work that we're planning here is going to be in the street right of way. There are certain areas where there will be some work on private property, and for those, easements will be worked out with those property owners on an individual basis. And easements are just essentially permission to work on private property. And most of those easements have to do with replacing a short segment of driveway or some sidewalk, that type of thing. All right, what does sewer construction look like? This is another sewer separation project in Omaha. And you can see that the excavator here is bringing a new piece of pipe into a trench, and that is a clay sanitary sewer pipe. So you can see that the hole is a decent sized hole where they're actually constructing the sewer. And there's equipment there to support that. And if you look at the sides of the excavation itself, you'll see some pipe material there. You'll see some concrete, that's manhole material. And off the photo, there are other things such as rock that are necessary for this construction. All this material is necessary for the sewer construction, and all this material will arrive at the site on trucks, dump trucks and different types of trucks to bring it here. So yeah, you can see the house in the background, and if you imagine that's your place, during the few days where the sewer is constructed in front of your house, it can be quite disruptive. But the sewer construction itself moves fairly quickly, and again, restoration work and those things will follow afterwards. So what should you expect? Well, maintaining access to these properties that the sewer construction is going in front of is really critical. That includes business access, emergency access, garbage and mail delivery. We fully understand that people's lives don't stop when there's a sewer project in their front door, and so we're always grateful for some patience, but the contractors work very hard to make sure that this access is provided during the construction. Another thing I want to point out is that we've talked a lot about the sewer construction and what's necessary, but I did mention early on, there are a lot of utilities in the area, and throughout design, we work with those utilities very closely. We do expect there will be some utility work ahead of the sewer construction, and so you may see water or gas crews from MUD out in this area before the sewer construction actually starts. So there will be sewer construction, there will be paving, but there's also planning to be some utility work as well. Yeah, and that utility work, we work very closely with them, but they do set their own schedules, and those utilities will be reaching out individually to communicate the work that needs to happen for those individual utilities. So we talk a lot of doom and gloom. As Tom noted, construction can be disruptive, but the end result really is quite nice. And this is just a picture from, again, another CSO project that really shows the new street, the new sidewalk, the new curb ramps. And generally when these projects are completed, if you've survived and had patience with the construction, the reward is really a long lasting and very nice street and sidewalk public infrastructure at the end of it all. Finally, just a quick notes on kind of schedule and next step. We are, at the time of this recording, we are at 30% design. We are working towards 60% design, which is due in early 2025. When that is done, we'll be working towards final design in the fall of 2025, and then we'll move into advertising for bid to select a contractor to construct the project, and that's going to be in the fall of 25 or early 2026. All with the expectation that the contractor will actually start working on this project sometime in the spring of 2026. So what happens next? Well, Tom and I and the rest of the design team are going to continue working on the design for those locations where some work may need to be done on private property. Right-of-way negotiators will be reaching out to those impacted to start talking about compensation for the use of that property. As I said, bidding the project is selecting a general contractor. And then once that general contractor is selected, we'll schedule a pre-construction meeting before they ever start moving dirt or removing pavement. So that will be in late 2025 or early 2026 to give everyone in the area heads up that this is the contractor that we're preparing to start work.
Thank you, Adam. And thank you for those who spent a few minutes watching this entire video. Here, you'll find our contact information. You'll also find the website keepitcurrentomaha.com, which is going to provide regular updates on the status of the project and where you can find more information. Thank you again, and have a nice day.